Halibut is a very difficult species to rear in the hatchery. It's a very good species once it's out of the hatchery. It's very robust, grows well, good food conversion, good value in the marketplace. And so that piece of it's fairly straightforward. But rearing it in the hatchery is very tricky. First of all, you go and catch the broodstock from the wild. We're still dealing with wild broodstock fish that give us the eggs and the milk to provide the material for the hatchery. We caught maybe 40, 50 fish back in 2000, 2001. It took 2 or 3 years for them to even start spawning in captivity. That's typical. And then once they've started spawning, it's very difficult to follow the females through and get the eggs at the right time. Often they'll release just as you're getting in the tank, or when you come in the morning you'll see the tank's full of eggs and you're too late. And then once you do get the eggs, it's a very long rearing process. Once you've got the eggs fertilized, they survive quite well through the incubation phase. Then you've got a very long, what we call a yolk sac absorption phase, where they're absorbing their yolk sac and living off that for up to 7 weeks. Water quality, temperature, noise, all those things, flow rate, they're all critical, absolutely critical. So you're playing around with this, you're designing the systems to do this and get them through to, maybe you're lucky if you're getting 50% survival. We're up at around 70% survival through that phase. And then once you get them through there, you've got to start feeding them on plankton that you're rearing in the hatchery, and what we feed them on is Artemia. And that's not just Artemia out of a can, and this comes from Great Salt Lake, by the way. They come as a dried cyst, and you hatch them and you add water and bubble for 24 hours, they hatch. Then you've got to start adding the right nutrients and the right balance to these Artemia before they get fed to the halibut. And it's taken years for us to get a good diet that we can feed to the Artemia that will be suitable to the halibut. Otherwise you get a lot of albino halibut, a lot of deformed halibut. So we're at the stage now where we can produce a lot of nice fish at a relatively good survival rate. And when I say good, I mean 5% from fertilized egg, or 10% now, or about 10%. Back in the good old days, we were, only 10 years ago, we were still talking about 1.5% or 1.3%, and we were talking about the slight differences in percentage survivals, and we were getting, say, 15% normal pigmentation was good and 10% was not so good. And now we're up at about 95% normal pigmentation and good morphology and good fish to grow out, and that all is important for the grow out phase too, and then for the market too.